One of the rarest types of meat that I always wanted to try but I couldn't afford was Wagyu beef from Japan. Yeah, so I'm doing the next best thing. Looking at a video detailing why Wagyu beef is so expensive. Hope you enjoy.
This is Wagyu beef, one of the most expensive meats in the world.
I guess it's the most expensive type of beef in the world. Just a guess, I'm not sure about that though.
Produced in Japan and prized for its rich marbling and buttery taste, high-grade Wagyu can cost up to $200 per pound.
$200 per pound, fucking hell. You know how much normal beef I can buy with that shit? Ugh.
And the cows themselves can sell for as much as $30,000. But what is it that makes the meat so expensive?
I guess it's a mixture of both the breed and how much you feed. I mean, not how much. What exact stuff you feed the animals. Because from what I know, from what I've heard at least, the stuff you feed the animal is directly correlated to the quality of the meat. As in, if the quality is good, that means the animal has been fed some really good stuff. Just saying.
The term Wagyu literally translates to Japanese cow,
And that makes it quite simple.
it generally refers to four main breeds. These cows were bred for physical endurance.
Kuroge, Akage, Nihon, Tankaku, Mukaku. Yeah, I apologize to any Japanese viewer for butchering your language, but yeah. I'm actually surprised that it's four breeds. I was under the assumption that was actually one breed of cow.
Giving them more intramuscular fat cells. The fat is distributed more evenly throughout their muscle, which is why Wagyu beef looks pink and tastes so tender. And the Japanese government tightly regulates Wagyu production to protect the value and quality of the meat. Wagyu is graded on two main factors: how much meat can be yielded and the quality of the marbled fat. Only A3 to A5 Wagyu is certified for sale in Japan.
So what happens to A2 and A1? Or what about B, the B quality or the C quality? What happens to those?
And the higher the grade, the higher the price. Wagyu beef has gained almost legendary status, and there are many myths about Wagyu farms and the way the animals are treated, from getting daily massages to being fed beer. But these
What? I don't think alcoholic animals would taste good. Trust me on that.
often aren't true. The cows are raised very differently in each region and by different farmers, but they're often raised by a breeder until they're about 10 months old and then sold at auction to a fattening farmer. By the time the calves are sold at auction, they can
Yeah, just to point out, that's not a Wagyu cow.
already fetch 40 times the price of US cattle.
No, that's a lot of money. That's a fucking lot of money. Holy shit.
The fattening farmer will keep the animals in small pens and feed them a mixture of fibre and high-energy concentrate made from rice, wheat and hay. They're often fed this 3 times a day for almost 2 years, until the animals are almost 50% fat.
Okay, so it's both the breed and the diet that matters, but it seems like I was correct.
Only the pregnant cows and breeding cattle are allowed to graze on pasture. The length of the fattening process and the import prices of the huge amount of concentrated feed increases the cost of the beef. And over this fattening period, each cow will eat 5 tons of feed. If and when a cow goes to auction, it can sell for as much as $30,000. Comparatively, Black Angus cattle, which are considered the cream of the crop in countries like the United States and Australia,
And it tastes pretty good, I'll be honest.
typically don't sell for more than $3,000. And depending on the kind, the Wagyu can fetch close to $200 per pound. High marbling is the common goal, but the approach varies by farm and area. While there are more than 300 varieties of Wagyu available, the most notable cuts come from 10 regions. One of the most expensive cuts is Matsusaka Wagyu.
I guess every region in Japan has its own type of Wagyu, given that there are 300 types, as I stated earlier, so yeah.
From Mie Prefecture. Made exclusively from virgin female cows and highly prized for its tenderness. In 2002, one Matsusaka cow sold for 50 million yen.
50 million yen, I'm not sure how much this each yen. Yeah, but from what I could guess would be what? More than 40,000 or 50,000 US dollars, I guess.
Or roughly $400,000.
Whoa, holy shit, $400,000. That's more money than I've ever seen.
However, the best known cut of Wagyu is Kobe beef, which comes from the city of Kobe in Hyogo Prefecture, and is made exclusively from steers or castrated bulls. Although Kobe is commonly seen on US restaurant menus, customers should be wary of items like Kobe burgers, as authentic Kobe beef is too tender to be formed into a patty.
Yeah, I see. Must note when I go to a burger place.
Several US restaurants are actually serving hybrid Wangus beef from domestically raised Wagyu and Angus cows. The highest ranking Wagyu is A5 Miyazaki, a two-time winner of the Wagyu Olympics.
They have an Olympics for these cows? I'm actually surprised PETA isn't making a big deal out of it. They whine about every small thing. Let's say, if I had a dog, PETA would whine about that shit, but they're not doing anything about this. I mean, they're not complaining about it. It's not like I want to complain, but it's not like they're going to complain about this shit.
A5 Miyazaki will cost you $100 or more per pound. At Sakamai in New York City, it's the Wagyu of choice. The restaurant is best known for serving it in an $85 katsu sando, a popular Japanese-style sandwich.
$85 for this, that's a lot of money for tiny pieces of bread and meat.
On a busy night, we probably serve about 25 of them at $85 a pop.
25 and $85 a pop. Yeah, that's... No, see, when we're talking about volumes, 25 is pretty less, but since each one costs about $85, that's a lot of money.
Because Wagyu is so difficult to find in the US, yes, we do have a number of customers coming to us just to try the Wagyu. Sometimes Two Top will come and just order the sando by itself. There are a lot of tariffs and quotas on Japanese beef imports, and it's actually not allowed to import live cattle, so it is very difficult to source Wagyu.
So is it worth it?
So yeah, how did they make the hybrids? Like, given how the Japanese are regarding the Wagyu cows, how they managed to make Wagyu Angus hybrids? Yeah, that's something I would look into.
We decided to have our team give A5 Miyazaki Wagyu a try.
Holy sh**. It's so good. It's really like, it's like buttery. It's like as if it was like coated in butter, but
But it wasn't, it was literally just salt and pepper, which is crazy.
And there might be something even more sought after than the A5 Miyazaki. Hailed as the rarest steak in the
Is it the green Wagyu?
world, olive Wagyu comes from
Okay, it's called olive Wagyu. Got it.
cattle raised on pressed, dried olive peels mixed into their feed. It was developed in 2006 by a Japanese cattle farmer named Masaki Ishii.
I really wanted to see his thought process. What if I just feed my cows olives? Wonder what they'll taste like. Yeah, I really want to go through his thought process to come to this. But in all honesty, I want to try this as well. I mean the meat, not the olive mixture.
Only about 2,200 of these cows were slaughtered in 2018, and they all live on
Okay, despite the large number, that's actually pretty less when it comes to cattle farming.
the island of Shodoshima, home to Japan's oldest olive oil plantation. This special Wagyu is said to be extra tender and can cost anywhere from $120 to over $300 for a steak. While Wagyu's popularity grows worldwide, the domestic picture is a little different. Wagyu's popularity in Japan is actually slumping slightly, and the country
Yeah, given it's expensive, and if we take inflation into account, I don't think the average Japanese, or what do you call that, worker would want to, buy this. I'm sure it might taste good, and I'm sure they might want to eat it, but they had to pay bills first. I'll be honest. As a person in their 20s, I can guarantee the same thing. I want to spend, I don't know, $300 on a olive Wagyu steak, because with $300 I can do a lot.
imported more US beef than any other country
And to be honest, I think US beef is cheaper than locally produced Wagyu beef.
as of 2017. The value of Japanese exports of Wagyu has risen over 200% in the past 5 years. And as Japan's population ages, farmers are struggling to keep up with the increased global demand, raising prices even more.
Yeah, and that isn't always good. Like, how do I put? If prices increase over a certain threshold, people will look for substitutes. And from anyone who's read history, they'll tell you this. When people go searching for substitutes, they always find it. That's human innovation.
But the high cost hasn't discouraged international sales.
Yet. I'd say yet, because yeah, I would hesitate to buy Wagyu. Maybe a guy who's well off might not hesitate to buy Wagyu, but me, an average person, would hesitate to buy Wagyu.
In 2013, Japan exported 5 billion yen worth of Wagyu. Last year, exports hit 24.7 billion yen.
5 to 24, that's a huge jump.
And many producers are now getting halal certifications for their slaughterhouses.
To be honest, they should have gotten this much earlier. Given that the Muslim community tends to eat a lot of meat, you should have identified them as an ideal customer base. But yeah, it's better late than never.
So they can export to Muslim countries.
Yeah, about bloody time.
However, Japan may eventually have some competition when it comes to producing high-quality Wagyu. Countries like the US, Australia, and the UK have been working on breeding their own Wagyu,
Oh yes, the substitutes I was talking about.
usually relying on crossbreeding. Most British American and Australian Wagyu are only 50% purebred, but that may be changing soon. In the UK, for example, the Wagyu Breeders Association now registers DNA-verified full-blood Wagyu bulls and certifies authentic British Wagyu.
Okay, so the Japanese monopoly on Wagyu might be coming to an end in the next few years based on this information.
New methods and increased regulation may result in a product as good as the original, which means that there soon could be a lot more Wagyu that
Yeah, a lot more cheaper Wagyu for me to afford, and I can finally try this out.
costs a lot less.
If you enjoyed this video, please give a like. If you want to watch more like this, think about subscribing. If you have any questions or suggestions, put it down in the comment sections. I make it a point to read them, even though I hardly got any comments as of now. Anyway, thank you and have a nice day.